Hello, everyone. I am so glad that you are joining me today because today I'm going to teach you a framework for how to plan anything and finally get started with that first step. Have you ever asked your child to just get started and sit there or stand there? Or maybe you've watched them spend an hour staring at their homework materials or their project materials, but they just don't seem to get going. They know it's due next week. They know they need to do something, but honestly, I think they just don't know what the first step is, and it feels so overwhelming. I feel that same way when I look around my home and I find those spots that really need to be decluttered and organized. I just get overwhelmed. I want to do it the right way, but that just leads to procrastination. And that might be what you think your child is doing, just procrastinating. They're just being lazy. They look like they don't care. But most of the time, just like with us, they're just overwhelmed and it's hard to get started. So today I'm going to teach you this framework and it works for school projects, papers, studying for a test, even cleaning a messy bedroom. Because once students know how to organize their thinking, the starting becomes much easier. I've said this before myself, and maybe you've heard your child say it also. I just don't know where to start. This video is for you. If you're new here, my name is Kylie. I own a tutoring company called 4011 Learning. And this summer, I am walking through what I call the 3S student success system. Today's video is part of the strategy part of that system because success is not just about doing more and working harder. It's really about knowing what to do next and how to work smarter. So the real problem here is not motivation. Students and adults included procrastinate because their brain sees one giant mountain. And our brains love clarity and they hate uncertainty. When a task feels enormous, naturally, our brains would want to avoid it. We all do this. Think about putting off your taxes until the deadline is right around the corner, or the project to organize your garage that's been on your list for 3 years now, answering emails, opening mail, all those things. It's not because you can't do them. It's because the task felt too big and getting started felt too confusing. And students feel exactly the same way. Today, I'm going to show you how to shrink that mountain down into manageable chunks. What I have is a 4-step framework: brainstorm, categorize, prioritize, and organize. You might think of it like brain dump. Sometimes people use that term, brain dump. Then you're going to group all the things together. Then you're going to pick out which ones are most important or valuable, and then you make your plan. You can use this for almost anything. Today, I'm going to walk through this framework with 3 completely different types of examples. Let's start with the kind of assignment that often overwhelms all students. The teacher assigns a Civil War presentation due in 2 weeks. We are not going to jump to buying our supplies. We are not going to jump on a Google Doc or a Google presentation and start haphazardly doing things. We're going to use this framework. So the first step is the brainstorm part, or again, you might call it the brain dump. This is where you're going to write every single thing that you can think of that might need to be done for this project, or that you might need to buy for this project, or that your teacher said to be sure to include in the project. If you have instructions or a rubric, you want to make sure you look over that. Make sure all of those things are on your list. There are no good or bad things to write down. You don't filter anything yet. You just get it all out of your head and onto the paper. You're not organizing. Here are some examples of things that you might write down for this exact project. Choose a topic, research, find sources, take notes, make an outline, create slides, find pictures, write the bibliography, practice the presentation. Next, you're going to categorize all of these items, group them into things that make sense being put together. So we might make a category for research. And under that, we might have things like choosing the topic, finding the sources, or taking the notes. We might categorize the presentation together. So here for the presentation, we might include finding the pictures, creating the slides, and practicing the presentation. We might have something that is editing, to make sure that you go back and you check over everything after you practice. So you just take all the things that you've written down and you put them into categories together. Now you want to prioritize these things. What needs to happen first? What are the most important parts or the least important parts? So let's think about that. You cannot make your slides until you've researched, and you can't research until you've chosen a topic, and you can't practice until the presentation exists. So suddenly, now everything seems obvious. The order that you need to do it kind of jumps out at you, and you can make your plan, or you can organize all of these things. So it might be that Monday is your planning day. On Tuesday, you're going to do a little research of the assignment and choose your topic. Then the next day, you are going to research your topic more. The following day, you make your outline. Next, you create your slides. After that, you are going to practice. And as you practice, that is where you'll want to take note of anything that needs to be edited or changed later. And notice what happened here. The assignment did not get smaller, but it becomes much less overwhelming. Now, for a second example, this exact same system works for studying any topic. So let's imagine that your student has a biology test, and we know, because we have a study guide, that the biology test is going to cover photosynthesis, cellular respiration, all of the vocabulary terms. It will have diagrams that need to be analyzed. They have a review sheet and a study guide to look at. So, first step, brainstorm anything and everything that you can think of that might be on this test. List it all. Now, next, you're going to categorize it or put all of the things in groups. And as you're looking over it, if you find something that either you completely already understand and you don't need to study, or you don't think would be on this test because it goes better with another topic, you can mark those things out. So you're going to create categories like vocabulary, concepts, visuals, practice questions from the study guide, and then you're going to prioritize these things. Which topic is the hardest and which one is the most confusing for you? You're going to probably want to start that one earlier and spend more time on it. which thing is going to carry the most weight? Is it going to be the multiple choice practice questions from the study guide, or is it going to be a written assignment that goes along with it? Now, you create your plan or you organize how you're going to carry out this study plan. Monday, I'm going to start focusing in on vocabulary. Tuesday, I will look at sales and maybe still look over the vocabulary. Wednesday, I'm going to focus on understanding photosynthesis, and I still probably would look over my vocabulary. Thursday, I'm going to tackle the practice questions and go back and check those. Friday, I'm going to give myself a test and see how I do, or I'm going to go over all of the things that were the hardest for the week. So, notice something really important here. We're no longer just saying, I need to go study for my biology test. We are giving the brain specific targets, and being specific reduces overwhelm and stress. Your brain can handle one task much better than like one big concept of something that you need to do. Our final example is one of my favorite because this does not work only for school. This works for life. And we definitely need to be teaching our children life skills. So let's think about those times that we say, go clean your room. And we can't figure out why our kids don't know what that means, or they don't do it the way that we think they should do it, or they never get started until we really begin to bring on the heavy threats. I want you to walk through this process with your child. Let's pretend we're doing it for go clean your room. Okay, let's make a list. What needs to happen when we clean our room? All right, we need to pick up all the dirty clothes and put them in the hamper. We need to make sure that the trash is thrown away. We need to make sure that everything that is out of place and doesn't belong in the bedroom gets back to its home. We want to make sure that everything that's on the floor in the bedroom but needs to stay there gets put away. We want to check certain areas, the bed, the closet, the desk, whatever it might be. And so then you're going to categorize those things: laundry, trash, things that go somewhere else, things that stay in the room, and you're going to say important areas. Then you come up with an organized, logical way to do it. So, what would be the best way to go about it? Well, let your child, think about that, but they might want to say, okay, let's get all the trash out first. Let's get all the dirty clothes out second. So we're going to go trash first, laundry second. Then they might want to make their bed third, because these three things are going to show a lot of progress. So we're going to make our bed third. And then we're going to take out everything that belongs somewhere else, put it away, and then go back into the room and take everything that needs to be put away in the bedroom, put that away, check our priority areas, and done. And the beautiful thing about this is maybe your child can't handle taking care of all of this at one time. Then you just break this down even further and you say, okay, we've got this list, it's organized. We're only working 10 minutes at a time. 10 minutes this morning, 10 minutes this afternoon, 10 minutes tonight before bed. And I can promise you, 30 minutes is plenty of time to get all of this done. It probably won't even take that long. But just putting a time limit also helps us to get started. Having that first step figured out helps us to get started. And the way we've organized things, they are going to see and feel progress. So instead of just giving them one job that seems impossible to do, your child will suddenly see very small, manageable tasks to take care of. This is one of the very best gifts you can give your child. This is not about having a clean room. This is about learning a process that they can eventually use to plan for anything and to get started with anything without you. So please do this a few times with your child for different jobs, and it is truly a life changing framework. Think about it like this: you're not organizing the project, you're not organizing the room, you are organizing your thinking, okay? You are allowing yourself to take some of that overwhelm away by putting it on paper, putting it into chunks of manageable things you can do, putting the priorities at the top of the list so that you see the progress that you want to see, and then making sure everything is happening in a logical way. When your brain can finally focus on solving one problem at a time, that is when we can really get things done. Now, this is exactly why strategy is one of the 3 parts of my 3S student success system. All right, so we're going to go through those 3 S's just as a reminder. Self-belief answers the question, can I do this? Having the skills in place answers the question, do I know how? Strategy answers the question, what's my next step? And many capable students do not need more motivation. They want to do well. They simply need help identifying that first step. So instead of saying, would you please just get started? Try asking them, well, what's everything that has to happen for you to accomplish this? And how could we group some things together so that they make sense? And what do we need to do today and what could wait until tomorrow? Again, asking questions like this teaches your child a life skill. Eventually, they will begin asking themselves these same questions when they're faced with something that they need to do or accomplish. And that's how we help them build their independence. When students know the next step, starting becomes much easier. Starting creates momentum, and momentum builds our confidence. And then when we build our confidence, the next challenge that comes our way feels even more possible. If this video helped you in any way, please make sure you subscribe to this channel because I want you to be able to follow along with all the rest of the 3S Student Success System series videos I'm doing this summer. Next week, we'll continue building practical strategies that help students become more confident, more independent, and more successful in school and beyond. Thank you, everybody, for joining me, and I'll see you next time.